Hi, I'm Scott Berry. I'm a broker associate on Janet Berry's luxury home team at Premier Plus Realty in beautiful Naples, Florida. And today is your lucky day. Today, I'm going to tell you how to get your offer accepted in Naples and Southwest Florida. Of course, everybody knows how hot the real estate market is in Naples and Southwest Florida. I had another agent from our company ask me today how we get so many offers accepted in a market like this. It's a crazy, crazy market, and we've been highly successful with getting our customers' offers accepted. So I'm going to run through, I jotted down several ideas on my mask, and I left my mask in my car, but let me run through what I think are the most important factors in getting your offer accepted. And I will just say that an offer, there's so much more to an offer than a purchase price. So I want to go through some of the elements and some of the things that I think are really important to make the seller feel like your offer stands out compared to other offers. The very first tip that I would give anybody is going to make a lot of agents in Naples angry. But my very first tip is do not go directly to the seller's realtor. Again, it's going to make a lot of realtors mad, but in the state of Florida, an agent cannot represent the seller and the buyer as a fiduciary in the same transaction. Dual agency is something in a lot of states where a realtor can represent the buyer and seller in the same transaction, no problem. But in Florida, it is against the law to practice dual agency. So as a result, what Florida has done is they've created a default brokerage relationship in Florida, which is called transaction broker. And transaction broker is when you can actually represent the transaction, but not the buyer or the seller in a transaction as a fiduciary. And the state of Florida has laid out all the guidelines and all the duties that are required based on the transaction relationship that you enter into with your realtor. And the difference between a transaction broker and a single agent relationship, which is where the agent is working directly for you, there's a couple things that are missing. And three of those items that are missing I think are pretty important. Those three duties that are missing are loyalty, obedience, and total confidentiality. They actually only owe you limited confidentiality. I don't know about you, but if I'm trying to get my offer accepted, I'm going to want to be working with somebody who's working on my side and is going to be loyal, obedient, and keep everything that I say and do totally confidential. But let me just ask you a quick question. If you have ever sold your home or a property with a realtor, what did they tell you when they sat down to list your property for sale? I would bet, I'll bet you $5, and I'll issue a challenge as well. If you go look at any realtor's website in Southwest Florida and click on the button that says seller or sell your home, something like that, and every website is going to tell you the same thing that they're going to tell you when they sit down to list your home for sale. They're going to say that it's going to be my job and I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to sell your home in the shortest amount of time for the highest price. I can guarantee it. And if you find one that doesn't say that, send it to me and I will pay you my $5. I promise. I mean, is that the person that you want representing you when you want to get your offer accepted on a property that they have listed for sale? I don't think it's a good idea, and that's just my opinion. And again, it's going to make realtors mad, but that's number one on my list. If you want to get your offer accepted in this super highly competitive market, that's number one. Number two is don't lowball. Don't insult the seller by making a low offer on a property. We know how hot the market is right now. Everything is selling very rapidly, it's selling for at or close to or above the list price in almost every instance. And our inventory is so low, it's only going to keep going like that. So my second tip is to don't lowball and insult the seller right off the bat. Okay, the next couple items I'm going to talk about really have to do with inspections. And especially if you're looking to purchase a property that looks like it's very well maintained, or if it's newer, one thing that you can offer the seller, again, like I said, there's so much more to an offer besides price. And these are little nuggets that you can offer to the seller that's going to make your offer look better than other offers. And one thing you can do is you can offer to waive the inspection on the purchase. When you use the standard contract in Florida, either the Naples contract or the Florida contract, you have a 15-day period to have inspections done. Basically what happens at that point is if you find anything during the inspection that is not functioning the way it was designed to function, you can go back to the seller and you can ask them either to repair that item or to give you a credit at closing in lieu of repairing that item. That's the way a standard purchase works. So you can offer to waive that inspection, or you can waive the remedial action. You can say, okay, we're still going to have our inspection, but if we find anything during the inspection, then we're not going to ask you to fix it. So those are two really good little pieces. If you feel comfortable, those are going to make your offer look better than everybody else's offer. The next thing that I had written down on the list is actually very similar to this, and this would be using either the as-is contract or use an as-is addendum to our standard contract. And there's a couple really good things about this for the buyer. First of all, number one, it's going to make the seller feel better. Again, what we just talked about as far as the inspection goes. An as-is contract basically says you have a right to inspection. The standard is 15 days. However, the seller is not responsible for fixing any items that are found during the inspection. That's the standard language in the as-is contract or the as-is addendum to the standard contract. However, the really, really good thing about that contract for the buyer, and that's not just in the instance when we're with a hot seller's market, this is in any market. The beauty of this as-is contract is that the buyer has sole discretion to terminate the contract for any reason at all during that inspection period, during that 15 days. So if you're using the standard contract, there's hoops that you have to jump through if you find inspection items, and you and the seller have to negotiate back and forth. And ultimately, if you are not able to come to terms on the inspection items, then you have an option to terminate the contract. If you're using the as-is contract or the as-is addendum, you can terminate the contract for any reason at all. You maybe met the neighbors and you didn't like them, or for whatever reason. If you wanted to terminate the contract for any reason, it is at your sole discretion, which is beautiful as far as a real estate contract goes. So it's probably a better way to accomplish the first item that I talked about, because it is better for you as the buyer. Now, if you are going to be doing financing, you can offer to pay any short appraisal gap. So if the appraisal for some reason were to come in less than the amount that you're paying for the property, or even worse than that, less than the amount that you're financing, the bank normally is not going to borrow you more money than what the property appraises for. So you can offer to the seller that if for some reason the appraisal comes in low, that you're going to have to take cash out of your pocket at closing, but that you'll pay the gap between those two. You're not going to try to renegotiate the sale price of the property based on where the appraisal came in. Now, I will say that we have not had any appraisal issues in quite some time. I can't remember even the last time that we had an appraisal that came in below the sale price on the contract. But it is an item for us to offer the seller, which makes it look good from the seller's perspective. So it's definitely an item that you want to put on your contract. Another thing that you can do is you can pay some or all of the seller's closing costs. Just like the buyers have closing costs when you purchase a property, the seller has certain closing costs as well that they're responsible to pay when they're selling the property. And you can pay certain items that the seller has to pay, or you can go up to a certain amount or a certain percentage and basically tell the seller that you'll help them out with some of their closing costs. Again, it may not even be a huge dollar amount that we're talking about, but it's definitely something, you know, there's so much more to an offer to purchase somebody's home than just the price. And these are just the items that we're going through. Another thing that we've had a lot of success with is making your earnest money deposit non-refundable. And that may sound a little scary at first, but you know, all the things that have to happen during a purchase and sale transaction, there's a lot of things that go into it. But you know, protecting your earnest deposit is one of our biggest duties. And you know, especially if you're not financing the transaction, which is, you could get in trouble with your lender if you tried to make your earnest money deposit non-refundable. However, if you're not doing financing, you know, you can offer to your seller that, you know, if something happens and I do not go through the purchase process and do not go through to the final sale of purchasing your property, that the earnest money that I'm putting up would be non-refundable, and that would go directly to the seller if for some reason you didn't perform under the contract. Obviously, the risk to that is if something happens and you are not able to perform under the contract, you would lose that earnest money deposit. But you know, we've never seen never had any issues with earnest money deposit. Again, this is kind of another thing that we can put on the contract that is in the seller's favor that makes them feel really good about your offer. An escalation clause, and this has become very popular in Naples and Southwest Florida. And what an escalation clause does is it kind of allows you to set boundaries. You basically say, I will beat the next highest bidder on your property by a certain amount. So you basically set up the escalation clause that says if somebody comes in with a price higher than mine, I will increase my offered purchase price by X amount. And then we go up to a final amount. So you may say, maybe you're offering $500,000. You may say that I will go up to $515,000 in $2,500 increments if somebody outbids me, or if somebody comes in with a price higher than mine. And then you would just put a cap on that as well. Again, it's a really cool way for you to help the seller and also help yourself. It doesn't, you know, rather than offering $515,000 or $520,000, you can increase that in $2,500 increments, and you'll probably end up paying less than you would have, and you might scare away any other potential buyers that are out there. But you're not putting yourself in a place where, you know, you may be overpaying for the property. So escalation clause has been highly successful. I will say one thing, that one of the biggest parts about the escalation clause is how it's presented to the seller or to the seller's agent, and you know, that's something that we're expert with. We've done many of these, and it's really important to make sure that that's presented properly so that the seller's agent understands exactly what you're offering and exactly how it works, and also exactly how it really benefits the seller. This is one that is fairly recent in my experience, and this was a mortgage broker actually told us about this, and this is making a property-specific pre-approval letter. Sounds like such a simple thing to do, but what buyers are doing in this crazy market is they're just going online and they're getting their pre-approval done, and they're just printing it out for a certain dollar amount, and they're bringing that around to different properties. So they may make an offer on a property and use the pre-approval letter, and then if that doesn't work out, they would move on to the next property and use the same pre-approval letter. And what this does psychologically to the seller is it tells them that, or it at least gives the appearance that you are extremely interested in their particular home, and you've gone through the pre-approval process for their particular home, not just something that you printed off the internet. So again, seems like a really simple thing, but psychologically from the seller's perspective, it really looks good for the buyer, and it looks like you're really serious about their home and you really want to purchase their home. If you are doing financing, another tactic that you can use to make your offer look better than everybody else's is to waive your finance contingency. The way a standard contract works is you say that this purchase is contingent upon financing, and then you put the terms in, basically the number of years, the financing rate, things like that you're looking at, and then you also put in a date. It defaults to 30 days in the contract, where you would have to waive the finance contingency at that point. So a couple things you can do is you can offer to waive that finance contingency completely and make it a cash transaction, which sellers love. And the other option you have would be you can just shorten that time frame at least. Again, people are looking at 30 days to waive their finance contingency. Try to do it in 15. And again, make sure that you talk with your mortgage broker about this to make sure that they're okay with it, and to make sure that that's not going to put you in a bad situation. But for the most part, most of the lenders right now are able to put you in a good position where you feel really good in the next 15 days about your finance contingency. So if you waive it, again, it's something that other buyers may not be thinking of. So it's something that looks good in the seller's eyes. The last thing I'm going to talk about is this could be the most important piece of this entire puzzle, and that is for you to write a personal letter to the sellers. And this has been so incredibly effective and so touching in a lot of instances, but write the seller a letter and tell them about you and about your family and about what you like about their house, and tell them that you can't wait to spend holidays in their home just like they've spent the holidays in their home the last several years or whatever. Tell them, you're real people. Sometimes, especially in this kind of a market when everything's moving so quickly and people are screaming at each other that, we need a pre-approval letter, we need a cash deal, we need this and that. Everything's moving so fast, and this is a way to kind of slow things down a little bit and bring it back to a more personal level, and maybe a less robotic level, where the seller's going to think, wow, these really are, these are people. This is a really nice family with kids that are going to go to the schools that our kids went to, whatever the situation is. But take a half an hour out of your day and write a nice letter to the sellers. Tell them that you love their house and why, and tell them about your situation. And a lot of times it just gives you that extra little edge over other offers that they've received that are just so much less personal. And again, you can talk about some of the other elements that we've talked about even in your letter. So I hope these tips help you. I do think that the very first tip I gave you and the very last tip I gave you are probably the most important out of all of them, and probably the most successful out of all of them as well. So we are here to help you in any way. If you're looking to purchase a home, we're happy to help you through this process. We're also happy to, if you're already working with a realtor, we're actually happy to help that realtor in putting you in the best light as far as the seller goes, and making you look better to the seller than anybody else who's making an offer. We help other agents out all the time. We're happy to do that. Obviously, we'd like to help you. But if we can't help you, we're happy to help your agents through this process as well. It's not an impossible process. A lot of time, there's a lot of investors out there right now that are paying cash for transactions, but you can make it more personal, and you can add in the little advantages that you can control and make your offer look better than any of the others. And I'm pretty confident that you can do that, and I'm pretty confident that we can help you do that. I hope this video helps you out a little bit. with some good ideas on how to get your offer accepted. And if there's anything else, I always say this, if there's anything else that you can think of that you'd like me to cover in a video, I usually just go by stuff that happens throughout the day. And this one kind of hit me because we've had so many transactions that our clients have been successful in getting their offers accepted. So just wanted to do a quick video on this, but if there's anything else that you'd like me to cover, I'm happy to do it. Please just let me know. And I hope everybody has a great day, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.